Good afternoon, parents and families. My name is Tyler Barker. I am the coordinator within the Office of Parent and Family Programs here at Georgia Tech. I would like to welcome you to our What's Buzzin' at Georgia Tech webinar series, where each week throughout the fall semester, we are bringing you webinars from different offices on campus, talking about the different programs and resources that they have to support your students. Today, we are joined by Allie Crain, who is one of our colleagues here on campus, and she will be talking about Georgia Tech-Lorraine. We'd just like to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. Parents and families, if you have any questions for Allie as she goes throughout her presentation, please feel free to utilize the Q&A chat box. I see that some of you have already utilized that. So once again, if you have any questions for Allie about Georgia Tech-Lorraine, how is it over there? Just, what's life like over there? How is student success over there? Please feel free to ask those to Allie as she goes through her presentation. And if you give me one moment, we will transition to our PowerPoint and then we'll get started. And without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Allie Crain.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Yes, as he said, my name is Allie Crain, and I am the outreach coordinator for Georgia Tech-Lorraine. So I work mostly with undergraduate students on the Atlanta campus who are interested in spending a semester or more over on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus. So today's presentation is going to be a general overview of Georgia Tech-Lorraine that is going to give you relevant information for any semester that your student may be interested in attending, whether it be spring, summer, fall, any year. This is going to be just a general overview that will be relevant for any and all semesters. And then if you do have any specific questions, like Tyler said, I would be more than happy to answer them if you want to put them in the Q&A. If you have questions about a specific semester or a specific year, then I would be happy to address those at the end. The presentation is designed as the top 10 reasons that we think that students should study at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. And while I could probably name a million different reasons that I would encourage students to study at GTL, we have narrowed it down to the top 10. And these reasons are also detailed descriptions of life on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus, cost details, and application requirements, pretty much everything you're going to need to know if you have a student who is interested in Georgia Tech-Lorraine. So we'll go ahead and move to the first reason. And that is that Georgia Tech-Lorraine is super unique. It is one of only 2 international Georgia Tech campuses. So Georgia Tech has tons of different study abroad opportunities through the Office of International Education in pretty much every country imaginable. However, there are only 2 international campuses of Georgia Tech. There's Georgia Tech-Lorraine in Metz, France, and then there's a Georgia Tech campus also in Shenzhen, China. So Georgia Tech-Lorraine is really unique in that it is an actual Georgia Tech campus. So if your student decides to spend a semester at Georgia Tech-Lorraine, they are still going to be a tech student on a tech campus, taking tech courses. You don't have to worry about submitting any applications to another university. You don't have to worry about if your student's course credits are going to transfer back or not. You know that they will. They're going to transfer back seamlessly, just as if your student took those courses on the Atlanta campus, because again, it is still Georgia Tech. So it's really an amazing experience to go to France, to visit Metz, and to see the Georgia Tech campus, because it really is like a mini Georgia Tech community just transplanted into France. So students have a great home base with a tech feel as their home base, but they're also getting a European experience. And we'll go on to the second point now. And that is the fact that the courses are taught by Georgia Tech faculty. So like I mentioned, these are the same Georgia Tech curriculum courses that your student needs to take for their major, whether they choose to take them in Atlanta or in France. So In that same vein, because they are Georgia Tech courses, they are taught by Georgia Tech faculty. And that does also mean that the courses are taught in English. So if your student does not know any French at all, that is okay. They will be perfectly fine to attend Georgia Tech-Lorraine. There will be no issues with that. Most of the students that we send over to GTL don't speak any French at all whatsoever, and they do not have issues in the classroom or really outside of the classroom. Everyone in the city of Metz is used to having Georgia Tech-Lorraine students in the community, and they're really happy to welcome them and help them to get around the city. So unless your student opts to take a French language course during their time at Georgia Tech-Lorraine, then their courses will be taught in English. However, if they are interested in speaking some French or taking some French, we do offer French language courses every single semester at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. So they can choose to take French from the beginner level all the way through intermediate and upper level French courses if they've already had some prior experience. And then also, just as a bonus, if they don't want to take a French course, but they are interested in picking up some French during their time abroad to help as they travel or order coffee in a cafe, we do offer just for fun, not for credit, French language course on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus that a lot of students enjoy taking part in, again, just to pick up some general phrases that they can use along the way during their travels. And now for the third point, which is continuing momentum towards their degree. So because these are the tech classes that they need to take, this should not change their graduation plans. It should not put them behind at all in any way. And their academic advisors are going to be really great resources in helping to determine what courses they should take during their time at Georgia Tech-Lorraine to keep them on track towards their degree, because it is definitely possible to do so. Going to GTL should not put your student behind at all whatsoever. Tyler, I think there are some little points that come up if you, there we go. So we do offer a really wide variety of courses. Georgia Tech-Lorraine is open to students of all majors. And as long as you can fill up a course schedule, you can go to Georgia Tech-Lorraine. We offer core courses, major courses. If your student is an international plan student, we do have a lot of courses that fulfill requirements for the international plan. In the summer, we typically recommend that students take between 10 to 12 credit hours. 10 is the absolute minimum for them to be a full-time student, so they do have to take at least 10 credit hours in the summer. And then we recommend a maximum of 12 credit hours. However, if they do need to take a bit more for any reason, we can work with students on an individual basis to make that happen usually. For spring and fall semester, we typically recommend 12 to 14 credit hours. And just the same, 12 is the absolute minimum, and then 14 is the recommended maximum. And again, we always encourage students. So if your student wants to go to Georgia Tech-Lorraine, but they're not sure what to take, we always encourage them to reach out to their academic advisors. They are super well versed in the Georgia Tech-Lorraine courses, and they're happy to help students plan ahead. And really, the earlier your student can start planning for a semester at GTL, the better, because then they can determine what courses they need to save for their time at GTL, and that's really helpful for making sure that they are going to be able to fill up a full course schedule. And on to the next reason. So this slide is just some highlighted courses and programs that we like to point out to students. The first is what we call the SLS France program. So this is a program that takes place on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus that's geared towards students who already speak an intermediate level of French or above. So if you have a student who speaks French at the 2001 level or above, this is a great program for them. The SLS stands for Serve, Learn, Sustain. So the program is based around French language and sustainability. So they really take a deep dive into language immersion. They're going to be doing weekly field work in the city of Metz, meeting with local business owners, volunteering with local organizations, all based around sustainability, but of course they're going to be speaking French. So it really does wonders for their French language skills, and the students who have participated in this program in the past have really raved about it. And if you do want to see the student testimonials or read more details about the SLS France program, we do have a specific website just for this program. It's sls-france.gautech.edu. So I highly recommend checking that out if your student does speak some French or is interested in speaking some French. We do have Ivan Allen College courses at GTL. Again, GTL is open to students of all majors. It is not just for engineering students. It is for students of any and all majors. We have a startup lab course, which students typically love at GTL. It's a really awesome course because they do get put into groups which sometimes contain international graduate students. So that's a unique opportunity for them for this course that's offered also on the Atlanta campus, but they're getting the kind of international piece if they take the course at GTL. So we always like to encourage students to check out that course. We now offer Physics 1 and 2, which are pretty new on the GTL campus, and both of those courses do have the lab built into the course. A lot of students need those courses, so if you have a student who still needs to take Physics 1 and 2, let them know that they can take it at GTL. We have some business courses that we offer at GTL, and we also offer research opportunities for students in aerospace, computer science, ECE, and ME. So if your student is any of those majors, they can also conduct research with the faculty on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus during their semester. All right, next slide. So like I already mentioned, your student can choose to go to Georgia Tech-Lorraine any semester. It is a year-round campus, so we have students over there in the fall, spring, and summer of every year. Typically, students like to know which semester we in the GTL office would recommend. And while there is absolutely no bad time to go to GTL, usually when students do come to us and ask us if there is a semester that we would recommend, we do like to always recommend fall or spring semester. And that is because those semesters are a full semester in length, whereas summer is a bit shorter. And trust me, once your student is there, they're going to want to stay as long as possible. It's an amazing experience. So having the full semester is something that we always recommend for students. But summer is actually our most popular semester. So if your student is interested in the summer semester at GTL, please encourage them to apply early. We typically do have to close that deadline early because the program fills up so quickly. We usually send about 100 to 150 students in the fall and spring, and typically around 300 to 350 students in the summer. But again, there is no bad time to go to GTL, and sometimes students can determine which semester would be best for them by checking out which courses we offer each semester, because the course lists do change by semester and by year. And all of the course lists for the upcoming semesters are posted on our website, lorraine.gautech.edu. There is a course list tab where that is broken down by semester for all 2021 semesters. Next slide. So this slide shows you the location of Metz. You can see it's in the northeast part of France. It's about 90 minutes from Paris by train, and it's on the border of Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. So like I mentioned before, Metz is really a great home base for the students because it's a smaller French city. It has a smaller feel. It's not like living in Paris. The community in Metz is really welcoming of our students and really excited to help them navigate the city. And Metz is such a charming historic city. There's so much French history and German history. So students could spend every weekend in Metz and not run out of things to do. And we do give the students an orientation upon their arrival to GTL, where we take them into downtown Metz and show them around and make sure that they know how to take the bus and see all of the high points of Metz. But also we know a lot of students go to Georgia Tech-Lorraine with the intent to travel on the weekends, and it's really a great location for our students if they want to do a lot of traveling, because you can easily go to many different countries from Metz. There's a really extensive train system all around Europe. So we've had students go for a semester and see upwards of 16 countries during their time at GTL. Most students get what's called a Eurail pass, which is a train pass that takes them all around Europe. So that is something that a lot of students look forward to and that we provide assistance with, and of course encourage them to travel during their time abroad. So they are in class Monday through Thursday at Georgia Tech-Lorraine, and then Friday through Sunday every week is a long weekend for independent travel. So during the week, they're focusing on their studies, and on the weekend, they have Friday through Sunday to have a real European experience. Next slide, please, Tyler. So number 7 is gaining a global education and perspective. We always like to point out that if your student does study abroad, whether it be on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus or with any other program, this is something that they should add to their resume. It does add dimension to their degree. Georgia Tech specifically is always encouraging Tech students to study abroad if they have the opportunity, because it really does make you more of a world citizen. It looks great on a resume. It shows that you are willing to step out of your comfort zone, that you can adapt to a new environment, and it can be a really good talking point with potential employers. So we do always like to encourage students, if they do study abroad, to make sure that they put that on their resume, because it is something that stands out. Not every student studies abroad as an undergraduate, so that is something that can set them apart. Next slide, please. So the housing on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus is dorm housing. They are required to live in dorms, and they are dorms that are provided by French schools that are right next door to Georgia Tech-Lorraine. So a really cool thing about GTL is it's situated around a lake, and also around the lake are other French technical schools. So there are other French students and international students in the area. And they may even share dorms with some international students. But the dorms are really, really nice. Each student has their own room, no matter what. So there are no roommates at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. However, there are different layout options at different pricing points for the dorms. And once your student applies for Georgia Tech-Lorraine and is accepted, depending on how many students we have that semester for the program, that determines how many different dorm options will be provided. But they each have their own bedroom. Some students may share a bathroom or share a kitchen, whereas other students may opt to have their own bathroom and their own personal kitchenette. Of course, that is going to determine the price point, but your student will get the full list of what their choices are as far as dorms, and they will get to let us know their preference. And also, if they're going to Georgia Tech-Lorraine with a friend, while they can't be roommates, we do have a form where they can let us know if they do have a friend that they would like to be placed on the same hall as their friend, and we can make that happen. But the dorms are all walking distance to the Georgia Tech-Lorraine classroom building. The students can also rent bikes on campus to travel around easily. The dorms are walking distance to a grocery store and local cafes and pizza shops. And then it's a short bus ride to downtown Metz. So a lot of the times, because there is no set meal plan at Georgia Tech-Lorraine, during the summer, students are provided with lunch on the days that they are in class, but other than that, there is no meal plan. So typically students will walk to the grocery store and use either their personal kitchenette or their shared kitchen to cook for themselves during the week. Or there is a cafeteria also walking distance from the GTL classroom building and dorms that offers really nice meals for just a few euros, 2 or 3 euros. So a lot of our students take advantage of that opportunity as well for meals. And then on the weekends, students are usually traveling and enjoying German meals and Belgian waffles and all of those kinds of things. Next slide, please, Tyler. So the value of Georgia Tech-Lorraine, this is a big one. I know that cost is a big factor in determining if your student is going to be able to study abroad, which later in the presentation I will also address scholarships and ways to reduce the cost at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. But as far as the value, in order to see the most up-to-date specific cost information, we always recommend that you visit our website. There is a cost tab where everything is broken down for each semester We've estimated the cost for everything from tuition, of course, but also even little things like if your student needs a passport, if they're going to need a visa. We've made an estimate about how much they typically spend on meals or traveling. And we've broken it all down for in-state students and out-of-state students on our website. Our cost structure has changed a bit in the past couple semesters due to a change by the Board of Regents. And so that change is reflected on our website as well. But I can, for an example, show you for spring 2021 or tell you for spring 2021, and this again you can find on our cost page of our website. We've estimated the costs where resident students for tuition are going to be paying $5,129. So it's around the same cost as in-state tuition in Atlanta. And then for out-of-state students, the estimated tuition cost is $11,444. So out-of-state students are paying not the same out-of-state tuition as on the Atlanta campus. It is different, and they are not paying in-state tuition. So to see the non-resident tuition, please visit our website. That's where it's broken down and listed out exactly. So we always encourage you to go there for the most up-to-date and the most clear and factual information. So next slide, please, Tyler. And then number 10 is an expanded worldview and life skills. Like I mentioned before, Tech always encourages students to go abroad if they have the opportunity, because it really does just expand their worldview. They're going to come back with tons of new best friends, I can assure you. They always do. We even have students sometimes who are nervous about going over there because they don't have any friends attending the semester program with them. And they always come back to our office with a whole new group of friends that they've traveled the world with. So don't let that hold your student back if they are nervous about going and not knowing anyone. It's super easy to make friends at GTL and form travel groups because they do have weekly on-campus events planned by the Georgia Tech-Lorraine staff. So it may be a movie night, it may be a food truck on campus, but there's always something going on where they do still get to socialize on campus during the week and meet the other students on the program with them that semester. Next slide, please. Okay, so now for some of the important details before your student applies for GTL. They do have to have a minimum of a 2.5 GPA to be accepted to Georgia Tech-Lorraine. If your student is a transfer student or a first-year student and they do not yet have a GPA at the time that they want to apply, they can still submit an application. It will just be accepted on the condition that when they receive the GPA, it will be a 2.5 or above. They also cannot have any disciplinary actions on their record, and there is a $500 application fee. And in order for that application to be considered complete, that fee does have to be paid. Sorry, excuse me. And that fee becomes non-refundable once your student is accepted into the program. So if your student is not accepted to GTL for any reason, you will get that $500 application fee back. But once your student is notified of acceptance, that's when the fee becomes non-refundable. You can read about that as well. We have a cancellation tab on our website that lists the full cancellation policy if you do want to go back and read that. And then the application is a fully online application that goes through the Office of International Education. It's pretty straightforward. There is a short essay section, but we're happy to help if your student has any questions along the way. Just encourage them to reach out via email to any of us in the GTL office, and we would be glad to help them get their application in. Okay, so now for financial aid. As far as scholarships, because Georgia Tech-Lorraine is still Georgia Tech, typically most scholarships that your student utilizes on the Atlanta campus, they almost always transfer over to cover your student's time at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. So for example, if your student has Hoke or Zell Miller, or pretty much anything else, that almost always transfers over to cover their time at GTL. However, we always encourage you to check with financial aid individually to ensure that your student scholarship will count for their time at Georgia Tech-Lorraine and will not be affected in any way by a semester abroad. We also offer our own scholarships, which you can read about on the scholarship tab of the Georgia Tech-Lorraine website. You can read the requirements to apply as well as find the online application link there. I'm so sorry. Tyler, if you'll go back 1 second, sorry. One more, there we go. Okay, other ways to bring down the cost that I do want to mention. In the past, we've called this position a resident assistant. We're now changing that to be a program assistant. And this is a paid position that students can apply to be the program assistant during their time at Georgia Tech-Lorraine. Basically, that would involve weekly hours spent assisting the GTL staff with either on-campus events or serving as the point of contact in their residence hall. But again, that is a paid position, so they will be paid for the hours that they work as the program assistant. Another way to bring down the cost in the spring and fall only is by having your student apply to be the GTL blogger. So if you have a student that loves to write and wants to take photos and share their adventures at GTL on our GTL blog, their work will be published on our blog, and in return, they will get a Eurail pass, which is that train pass all around Europe that I mentioned earlier, that will allow them to do a lot of extensive traveling. So they'll get that pass in return for their work as the blogger. Okay, now next one. Okay, perfect. So here are our application deadlines. The spring 2021 application deadline is actually today. However, if your student really wants to go in the spring and hasn't submitted their application yet, we can definitely give them some additional time to get that in. For summer 2021, the application deadline is December 31st. However, like I mentioned, it always fills up quickly, so make sure your student applies early for the summer. And then for fall 2021, the application deadline is March 1st. And again, they can apply on our website. And if you're not following our social media, we post all of our updates there, so I encourage you to do that. And then we can skip the video, Tyler. It's a just short student-made video that shows some travel destinations that some of the students go to. But if you do want to see the video, you can visit our YouTube channel. It is posted there. Thank you so much for doing the slides. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation about I have not been to Georgia Tech-Lorraine personally, but I've heard some great things about it. So we'll get started with our Q&A, and parents and families, please continue to drop those questions in the Q&A chat box for Allie about Georgia Tech-Lorraine. The first question is, what are the chances of study abroad being canceled due to the coronavirus?
So that's a great question, and although we can't predict the future, we are planning on running our future semesters as normal. We're even running our fall semester right now, fall 2020, as normal over at GTL. The students are doing live classes, socially distanced, and they are still able to travel on the weekends. So we are planning to still run all of our future 2021 programs as normal. However, we cannot predict what will happen. And so in the event that we do have to cancel, if your student has already applied and we cancel the program, they will be refunded for any reimbursable fees that they have paid. and you will be notified as soon as we know, both on our website and on our social media. We'll post any updates there, but we do plan to run the programs as normal.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Allie. What are the housing options for a second-year student who wants to study abroad fall or spring semester? The housing contract is for both semesters.
Okay, so if they want to study 2 semesters at Georgia Tech-Lorraine, I think that's the question.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so if you do have a student that wants to study 2 semesters back-to-back at GTL, that is possible. Most students do go for 1 semester. However, we do have students that go for 2 semesters at a time. We definitely encourage that. In the case that your student did want to stay for a 2nd semester, the dorm situation that they were in for the 1st semester, they could opt to just keep for the 2nd semester. And as long as their visa is set, which we have someone in our office that assists the students with everything regarding visas. So she would make sure that your student's visa situation was set for 2 semesters. And then I do not believe that your student would be required to return to the US. They could just stay in France at GTL in the same housing that they had for the previous semester.
Okay, great. And just a follow-up to that, if studying abroad for fall or spring of the 2nd year, what housing options are the best? So I'm guessing that this parent is also talking in terms of availability as well. Like, what would you recommend?
Okay, so I mean, I can't really say. It kind of depends on your student. For them personally, what would be best? Again, we do have several different dorm options that they are able to choose from. So if your student was staying 2 semesters and they preferred to have their own kitchenette and their own bathroom because they are staying for an extended period of time, they could opt for that during their 1st semester and stay with that during their 2nd semester. But if they wanted to go with a lower price point option and share a kitchen or share a bathroom, they could do that as well. So really it's just up to what your student prefers. They will get a lot more information about the dorms and the different options that they'll have during their semester or semesters if they stay multiple. Once they are accepted into the program, there's a full orientation session where we go over all of the different housing options and the dorm layouts so that they are really well informed before they choose which one would work best for them personally.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that. I kind of have a 2-part question. So first part is, if you could talk about the class delivery options in terms of in-person or virtual for our current Georgia Tech-Lorraine students. And then secondly, how is GT-Lorraine impacted by the current pandemic? So are there any social distancing guidelines for GT-Lorraine? Just how are they monitoring COVID, such as what we're doing here on the Atlanta campus?
Okay, yeah, sure. So as far as the first question about classes, we are doing in-person live classes for students. So they are not doing online courses at GTL. One of the great things about our building over in France is we have a really spacious Georgia Tech-Lorraine building, and there are less students, obviously, than we have on the Atlanta campus. So there's lots and lots of room for them to be socially distanced. Even in the classroom, they are socially distanced. The students who are there this fall are taking courses in person. They are going to classes live. However, they are socially distanced in all of their classrooms, as well as if they're in the student lounge or the dorms. There are precautions and regulations that we do have in place, which are listed out in more detail on our website. We have a whole coronavirus tab, which shows you the details and lists out specifically what we're doing on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine campus as far as coronavirus. But the students at GTL do have access to testing just as they do on the Atlanta campus. We have a nurse on the GTL campus weekly. So if your student did happen to get sick, whether it be with coronavirus or just a cold, we do have a nurse available for them. And we always have a contingency plan in place in case for any reason the students were required to quarantine. They would be able to continue taking their courses online. That option would be provided in the event that they needed to quarantine. So we do have plans for that in place as well.
Great. With the recent changes to spring break for our students here on the Atlanta campus, how will GT Lorraine students be affected by the spring break change?
So that's a really good question, and I believe we do have our spring calendar posted. So let me go to the spring calendar. Let's see. Okay. I wanted to be sure before I give you any direct answer on that, but the spring 2021 calendar is posted on our site where we have the dates that we have confirmed for spring 2021 so far. So the program is set to start on January 8th, and there is not a listed spring break, which that probably answers your question. I do believe that they are not going to have a full week spring break as they have in the past. However, I believe they still are planning to do the Friday through Sunday three-day weekend each weekend for independent travel, and they will have a break for any government holidays.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing.
And if there is any change to that, we will, of course, update our website and our social media to reflect any change. I know that that's been kind of something that has been talked about a lot recently, both on the Atlanta campus and the GTL campus. So if there are any changes or updates, you'll see them on our website and social media regarding spring break.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that as well, Allie. Let's see. The next question is, I see a lot of study abroad in the summer semester. Is there an advantage to doing this in the summer?
So it really is just personal preference for your student. There is no huge difference between the semesters other than length. So like I mentioned, spring and fall are a full semester in length, whereas summer is a little bit shorter. So they are packing more courses into a shorter semester in the summer, but they are still taking a full semester's worth of courses, and they are still getting to travel each weekend. They're just not there for the full semester in length, which is what makes summer a little bit different. So if they do want to be there for a longer period of time, spring or fall might be a better option. Again, summer is our most popular, but there is nothing really different about summer as far as what we offer to students.
Is there a French for Fun class offered in Atlanta before they go to GT Lorraine?
That's a great question. I don't know of any. I know that the French professor, or one of the French professors at Tech, is currently hosting virtual like French round tables every Tuesday as of right now. I'm not sure how long he's planning on doing that, but I think that anyone is invited to join, whether they speak a little bit of French or a lot. So if your student was interested in something like that, I would recommend checking out the Modern Languages website, and they will probably have any events like that listed there. But I don't know of any for fun classes that are offered regularly on the Atlanta campus.
If a student who is taking French at Georgia Tech currently on campus wants to immerse themselves into the French language / culture, meet French people, etc., is GT Lorraine the best option for them?
So we always tell students when they ask us if GTL is an immersive experience, we always tell them it really is as immersive as you make it. Some students are not as excited to try to speak French or meet French people, and then other students really are. They want to get out in the community, they want to meet international students, and that's definitely available and an option for them. We set up a lot of events where they get out into the community, they take different field trips, they even have nights where they can be paired with a local French family for a dinner and go to their house. And if they speak French, they can speak French with the family, or if they speak English, the family speak English as well. But they can have a traditional French meal in the family's home. They also have the option to attend a French culinary school and have a meal there. They can attend cooking classes in the cafeteria where they learn how to make French croissants and pastries. And again, there are other French technical schools in the area. So if they do want to meet international students, there typically are international students out and about on campus that love to meet our GTL American students. So like I said, it really is as immersive as your student wants it to be. If they're willing to get out there and meet international students, that option is available. And if they want to have really valuable real life French dinners with French families, that's available too. So they have a lot of options for immersion. And then also our French immersion program is a great opportunity if they really, really want to dive deep into the culture and also speak some French, then that would be a great option for your student. And that's offered in the fall semester only.
Great. The next question that we have is, my child applied to the program and got an invitation to attend the student orientation, but never got an actual confirmation that he has been accepted. Is there something we are missing here?
Interesting. Usually they do receive a confirmation. Our applications are processed through the Office of International Education. So I would recommend that your student reaches out to the Office of International Education to just check on the status of his application. If he or she did receive an invite to the orientation, then they likely were accepted to the program, but they should have received an actual notice of that. So reaching out to the Office of International Education would probably be the best bet to just check on the status of his or her application.
Perfect. If you could touch on the usual room and board cost per semester at Georgia?
Sure, yes. So let me pull up our website so I can give you the exact number. So since I used spring 2021 as an example for tuition, I'll use that as an example for housing as well. So for spring 2021, we have $5,000 listed as the maximum housing and program fees. This is an estimated rate, but that is the maximum housing and program fees that is listed for spring 2021.
And if you could touch on, I know you touched on this in your presentation briefly, but if you could touch on it some more, what extracurricular activities are still being offered during the pandemic and moving forward? And also, is there a Lorraine alumni first year club that students can seek advice if it's their first time going over?
That's an awesome question. So we don't really have a club of that kind, but we do have some Georgia Tech-Lorraine big info sessions. We call them big info sessions because we do invite students who have attended Georgia Tech-Lorraine in the past to come to these info sessions as presenters and talk about their experience. And typically we have students from a wide variety of majors. So if your student is mechanical engineering, they can directly ask another mechanical engineering student who has been to GTL about their experience, what courses they took, what they would recommend. So be on the lookout. We will have some big info sessions happening this semester, and we'll post those as events on our website and on our social media. So keep an eye out for that. if your student does want to get in contact with someone who has been before to GTL. That's a great question. And then what was the beginning part of that question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, sure. What extracurricular activities are still being offered just amidst the pandemic and moving forward?
Yes, that's also a great question. So we are still having on-campus events that are right now mostly outdoor events. So we've had a lot of food trucks visiting campus where the students can go outside and get a meal from the food truck. We have socially distanced tables outside for them to eat and kind of socialize, but also remain socially distanced. Each semester they do different events because each semester the events are planned by a student group. So there is a student group that's elected at the beginning of each semester, and they kind of decide what the group wants to do as far as events. So I have seen them doing food trucks a lot this semester. I know that they also visited a pick your own fruit and vegetable farm. So that was another outdoor activity where they could safely pick their own fruits and veggies and come back to their dorms and have those for dinner or for snacks. So there are some photos of that on our social media. And so I'm sure they will have lots of different outdoor events throughout the rest of the semester. Those are the two that I've seen so far that the students have, I guess, opted for.
What are the restrictions for Americans to travel within France, Europe, and the UK currently, if any?
Yes, so as of right now, the only restriction for the GTL students who are there in France now, they can travel between borders. They just cannot visit the UK as of right now. That may change, it may not for future semesters, upcoming semesters. But right now, students can still travel country to country, just not the UK. And as far as getting to France, as long as your student has either a student visa, which we will provide for them, or help assist them in getting, if they're going in the spring or fall, they'll need a student visa. And then if they're going in the summer, we provide them with documentation stating that they are a student and they're there for school. And because of that, while France is not open to US citizens right now, students are an exception and they are able to travel over to France right now.
How many students are at Tech-Lorraine currently, and what is the average class size?
So currently, I think we have about 70. Typically, a fall or spring semester will be closer to 100 or 120. And then a summer semester will be around 350. So the class sizes are a little bit bigger in the summer, but they are still typically way smaller than an Atlanta class size. And it kind of ranges from everywhere. I think the least amount of students in a class will be 8. And then I would say a typical class size at GTL would be about 20 students, probably.
And is there a research option for a rising second year in the summer session?
So in the summer, we typically don't offer research. Most of the time, our faculty only offers student research in the fall and spring semesters, and only in the specific majors that I mentioned in the PowerPoint, but that's also listed out on our website. If you visit our website and go to the course list for each semester, we've included research as a course listed there. So if you do have a student interested in going in the fall or spring, you can see the research options that they have listed on those 2 course lists, but typically for summer, we don't have any research opportunities.
And how do students typically balance travel and the freedom that they have and also studying?
That's a great question, and that's a question that we hear a lot at the big info session when students get to ask other students who have already been to GTL questions. That's typically a question that they ask the students. And typically the students' answer is that during the week they are on campus, they are focused on their coursework, and then they kind of are able to get their coursework done by Thursday so that Friday through Sunday they are able to travel and experience Europe. And the professors are understanding that these students are traveling on the weekend and are having a European experience, and that's part of what they're there for. So typically the professors don't plan big tests or assignments to be due on Mondays. So we've also heard feedback that that's really helpful for the students. And typically the students don't act like it's a big deal for that to have that balance and to focus on schoolwork during the week and focus on travel during the weekend.
And in follow-up to travel, do you all do any education about, traveling safety, awareness, for just a first-time traveler who's, never been outside the U.S., you do have to be aware of different customs and things like that. How do you all prepare students to kind of just be prepared in those situations?
Yes, of course. So we do have a mandatory orientation for students to attend in Atlanta before they even depart for Georgia Tech-Lorraine, where travel safety is covered extensively. Our academic director, who is actually from France, she's from Metz, she does a great job of giving students all of the information they need about traveling safely, about using credit cards over in France, about kind of adapting to the cultural norms, things that students will need to know to function well in France. She covers all of that during the mandatory orientation and also answers any questions that the students have about those topics. And then once the students arrive in France, they are given another orientation by the French GTL staff, and they kind of reiterate those safety precautions and tips and things that the students will need to know to live and thrive in France for a semester.
Could you explain the cancellation policy with all the uncertainty? What happens with the deposit because the impact of the pandemic travel during the summer is not suitable?
Okay, so the cancellation policy is that if your student is accepted into the program, once they're notified of their acceptance, the $500 application fee becomes non-refundable. If they aren't accepted for any reason, you will get the money back. And we know that it is difficult to make that decision with the uncertainties going on. However, our cancellation policy is still in place. But if your student does apply for the spring semester, for example, and they pay the $500 application fee, and then it turns out that they can't go in the spring, they can defer their application to the very next semester, so they could go in the summer instead and not have to repay that application fee.
Thank you so much, Allie, for touching on that. Does the Hope Scholarship cover GTL financial aid?
Typically, Hope does transfer over to GTL, but again, we always recommend, no matter what scholarship, check with the financial aid office directly. Although we have had students utilize Hope at GTL in the past, you will want to check individually with financial aid to ensure for your student specifically that Hope will cover their time at GTL.
Does a program assistant get free housing, or does that no longer apply, or do they just receive paid compensation?
So our resident assistants, we used to have the resident assistant position, and they did get most of their housing cost covered. However, now the position has shifted to a program assistant, and they are being paid on an hourly basis.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. What if my student cannot find enough courses at GTL to fill in his major in his schedule?
That's a great question too, and that's one that I always answer by telling the student to check with their academic advisor, take the list of Georgia Tech-Lorraine courses, pull it up on their laptop with their academic advisor. The the academic advisors are usually really good about figuring out what your student could take that would count for credit during their time at GTL and kind of helping them determine how to make it work. So my piece of advice for that question would be for your student to seek help from their academic advisor.
Can a first year interested in attending GTL next summer apply to be a program assistant? And if so, how do they apply?
Yes, of course. Anyone who is accepted to Georgia Tech-Lorraine for that semester can apply to be the program assistant. The application will be sent out once the semester application closes. So once all of the students have applied, and once they apply, they're added to a group where there's a bunch of files shared from our GTL staff about housing, scholarships, all of those types of things. And that's where the program assistant, like job description and application link will be posted. So they won't receive that until after they're accepted into the program.
Great. I think we just have a few more questions. Let's see. When does the summer program start and end?
I will give you the exact dates here, which all of the semester calendars are listed on our website as well, just for future reference. But for summer 2021, we have the start date listed as May 17th, and then dorm checkout, the last day is August 6th.
Okay, great, perfect. Sharing that. You mentioned that physics 1 and 2 were now offered, but they don't seem to be offered in the summer. Is that correct, or just not updated yet?
That's correct. So they aren't offered every single semester. I believe they're only offered in the fall and spring usually. Again, every year and every semester the course lists do change. However, typically those two courses are most of the time limited to spring and fall.
And for clarification, is the nurse only there once a week, or did you mean that they're there weekly?
I believe she's there a few days a week. I think maybe 2 days out of the week, and they are notified of the schedule for when the nurse is going to be on campus. However, of course, if they are sick or need assistance in any way when the nurse is not there, we do have GTL staff on site every day. They're English speaking that the student can go to, and the GTL staff member, if your student needs to visit the doctor or if they had to go to the hospital for any reason, a staff member will accompany your student to the doctor or to the hospital for translation purposes and just to kind of like be there with your student so that they're not going to be trying to find a doctor alone in France. Our staff is really great at helping your student get the support that they need, even if it's not from the GTL nurse.
And that actually brings up another great follow-up question. So if a student for any reason is transported to the hospital while in Metz, are parents notified?
Of course, yes, parents are notified, yes.
Great. What are the mask restrictions / social distancing restrictions within GTL housing?
So it's exactly the same as with Atlanta housing. So they are encouraged to wear masks at all times unless they are in their room. And again, each student does have their own bedroom. So they are encouraged to wear masks just like in Atlanta. In the classrooms, they are socially distanced and encouraged to wear masks in the class as well. It's the same regulations as on the Atlanta campus. But there's actually just more room for social distancing at GTL. So that's how they are able to actually be in the classroom and still maintain social distancing guidelines and follow those regulations.
Are some courses difficult to get into? Are some more popular than others than the other required courses? Are courses selected in the same way as they are in Atlanta?
So students register for the courses the same exact way they do for Atlanta through their Buzzport. It's the same process. They just put in a different code for their campus, and they will be walked through that fully by our academic director. As far as if the courses are hard to get into, usually the summer is when we do have courses that fill up. In the fall and spring, typically we don't have that issue because there are less students. So in the summer, some courses do fill up. However, even in the summer, that's rare. And typically students will get the courses that they need. Once your student applies, they'll be sent a questionnaire by our academic director to poll them on which courses they plan on taking so that we can kind of determine which courses are going to be really full and which courses aren't. So usually we can kind of give your student a heads up if the course is going to be really full. We can kind of notify them of that before registration by doing a poll of what they're planning to register for.
And our last question is, and this may be for the parents and family members who joined the webinar late, is it possible to go multiple times? Example, in your second year and then again in your third year?
Absolutely, that is definitely possible. And we have students who do it all the time. They go for a semester and they have such a great time. They either end up staying for back-to-back 2 semesters or they go back another year. So yes, that is definitely possible.
Thank you so much, Allie, for just presenting on some great information today and also taking some time to just answer questions. If any parents would like to continue to ask you questions, do you have an email address for your office?
I do, yes. They can email me directly at Allie, ALLIE, .Crain, CRAIN, at gtl.gatech.edu. And you can find my email address easily on the Georgia Tech-Lorraine website as well. But you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly if you have any questions at all. I would be more than happy to get them answered for you.
Great. Well, parents and families, that is all we have today. I would like to thank you so much for attending today's webinar. We truly heard some great information. And I think GTL is a great experience for students to consider and embark on if they would like to. I know studying abroad is something that our Georgia Tech administration strongly encourages, just so students can get new experiences, meet new people, and just see a different part of the world and still receive a top-tier education. But once again, thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great weekend and look forward to seeing you next week for some more webinars.
Thank you, Tyler.